up in a seated position. If the sling's not set right, I ended up laying like a plank. The idea of tilting me back is so as I go down, I go right to the back of the chair. I ended up into the top lift. But we're going to go backwards, so I've got it in drive, which is a different mode. I'm going to turn around. This turns on itself, this thing. That's it, John. I'm going outside on the deck.
This is the story of a bike rider, a serious cyclist confined to a wheelchair as a result of a bike accident. On January 26, 2019, Darrell Couchman went out for an early morning ride on the Tongariro River Track. The river track is a fairly easy ride of about 20 kilometers that Darrell would have ridden at least 100 times. On that January day, Darrell was joined by Morris Heapy, a mate from the Turangi Rock and Road Cycle Club. They were getting on the track early to avoid other riders and walkers. As fate would have it, the day's ride would be Darrell's last.
I first met Darrell and Jose when they first bought the house at the front of our driveway next door to us, and they'd just moved in from Auckland. He was an outdoors person, kayaking, biking, all tramping, skiing, and that's where we first met over the fence. Yeah, he had a mountain bike, and I had a mountain bike, and I was in the bike club, the Turangi Rock and Road Cycling Club actually. And he also had got a road bike, so we said, oh, why don't you come on a couple of group rides? And came on a few rides, liked the social aspect and the camaraderie, and we did a lot of riding together. Yeah, he's bike club president for a few years, and organised he loved the away biking trips. We'd go to the Old Coach Road, we'd go to Taranui, we'd do the Timber Trail. He was always good with his the bike trailer. He set up the bike trailer for us and things like that, and that's the way we enjoyed biking together. We started doing some early morning rides because before anyone gets on this river track, it can be quite busy. The morning of the accident, a little bit before 6:45, we started off from Grace Road. We came up this very switchback through here. We're going anti-clockwise up the Tongariro River Trail. We got up past the cattle rustlers, all going well. He had his electric bike then. I was in front of him, he was behind me. He wasn't too far behind, and then we started the downhill little switchback through the Manuka forest. Got down to the single footbridge and stopped, and Darrell wasn't behind me. So I turned around, biked up the most eeriest bike I've ever had, up through the forest, nice, all dark. Came up around the corner by near that tree, and then I saw a neon top lying in the stream. And luckily he was moving, and he called out to me, help, and that's when I knew something was wrong.
Imagine having a shed like this. This was built in 2008, and over the years there's been many projects built in here, but it's been a good place in the winter, get out of the cold weather, and in the summer when it's been stinking hot as well. I was a professional builder, and I was Vice President of Auckland Master Builders for a number of years and on their committee. And I also did building mediation, building disputes, and started learning how to do arbitration as well. But I became a registered block layer. I did registration in concrete laying, and I started to learn welding. Too many things on the go, so I cut a lot of that back, and then bought an excavator. A little one first, then I ended up with, after selling them off, getting bigger and bigger, I bought my fifth one for over $100,000 and kept that for 3 or 4 years.
And where did you do most of your building then?
West Auckland. Then the leaky homes came along. And some of those jobs were taking 4 of us a year to strip down and rebuild for people, spending $500,000 or $600,000 at a time.
What was the basic fundamental flaw or problem that created this real big issue back there?
Well, in those days it was allowing untreated timbers to be used, and that was pushed by the timber manufacturers and timber federation, and the councils allowing it to go through. If they had treated timber, any dampness that got in wouldn't have caused the problems of rot. It's as simple as that.
You must have had an awful lot of specialized equipment to do
Yeah,
something.
well, in the early stages, probably $500,000 or more in gear and value, with excavators and loaders and trucks and stuff, and then all the essential stuff for drilling holes for pole retaining walls, pole foundations and stuff like that. And then getting into block laying, I had all my own block laying gear and my own concrete gear, and it was just a case that I couldn't stop. I'd just keep buying and hiring. And this heavy racking, that'll stay here. Somebody else can do something with that. But we'll take off bits and pieces out of it. All stuff that had a use. Some stuff doesn't have a use anymore.
Over how many years, Darrell?
The company was registered in 1974, 1st of April, and it was closed down the end of this, April, May of this year. So what's that, 46 years, something like that?
What was the company called?
Aaron, AARON, Builders Supplies and Services Limited. And why I abbreviated to Aaron Builders for residential people, but I was Aaron Builder Supplies when I wanted to buy materials, because I could buy at a wholesale rate and make a profit on it. Okay. There's pumps and hoses and jerry cans and compressed air nail guns, electric saws, steel tapes, a couple of car speakers there fitted in the truck, sanding discs.
You were a physical person.
Physical, no two ways about that, yeah. I was fit and strong, and in the weekends, of course, into tramping and stuff, yeah. No two ways. It was never a dull moment. Yosei came and worked with us for a number of years building. So her and I and 2 of our guys built a spec house which we sold, and then we did other leaky homes and other work for a number of years. So somewhere in the vicinity of late 2007 we decided that enough's enough, we'll sell up everything in Auckland and come here. Tools down the back and those racks there, they're going to come up with us. This old kayak rack, I don't know whether to pull it apart or leave it as is.
Darrell, your bike accident was approximately coming on 3 years ago. You know, you've been in a wheelchair ever since. What stages of mental anguish or development have you gone through during those 3 years?
I accepted it pretty much as it happened. You know, it's just a fact of life. It was probably time that one of us, out of Yosei and I, had an accident because of the nature of the activities we were doing over the years. And I felt lucky that I'd got to 72 or whatever it was, because I'd had a pretty good run. So my mental stages have been highs and lows. I sometimes think I'd be better off, and I've said to you, so I'd been better off if I'd crashed and been killed at the accident. You would have grieved, you would have had your cucumber sandwiches at the funeral, and then got on with your life, you know what I mean? Got a lot of nails and screws to sort out here yet. They've all got a use, well they had a use, but they're too good just to dump. So it's a case of sorting out who can use what. And the same with that black toolbox, there's a lot of useful tools in there. Some of them I'll keep, some I'll get rid of as well. Stuff on here, in the same tools down the back, and there's racks there. They're going to come up with us.
Describe the river track. How many times have you been on it?
Describe the river track. It's an easy wandering track of about 8 to 10 kilometres. Wanders through bush, a bit of open land on the edge of farmland and stuff like that. How many times I've been through it, I'm guessing 100 plus, maybe more, who knows, I've never kept a count. So it was good, and it was at a time of day, as I said earlier, that no one else was on the track. The odd person with headphones on, so you come up beside them and touch them and they just about jump right out of their skin.
You got yourself that new electric bike. What prompted you to get that electric bike?
Well, I was watching YouTube a lot, seeing what was happening overseas with e-bikes, and started looking at the different makes and models and features and benefits, and I think I settled on a specialised bike. So I went and bought it. I think it was about $6,000 or $7,000. It was quite expensive, but it meant that I could keep up with the likes of Morris and yourself and others, you know, where I was flagging a bit before.
And that's the bike you crashed with?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the bike. How long did you have it?
So I only had that about 3 weeks, and the guy in the shop had said to me, you need to cut the handlebars down, they're quite wide. And I said, oh no, they build them this width for a reason. So I didn't, and I think the extra width on the handlebars was something that caused the accident, in the fact that it was wider for a narrow river track with a lot of trees, a lot of turns and stuff like that, so I clipped them. Getting up doing morning rides myself for quite a few months, I'd get up at 6 or earlier than 6, 5:30 and leave here at 6, do the river track up to Red Hut and back down the same side, and be home down to the airfield and back to here was 20k, so I'd do it in about 50 minutes. And so I was getting quicker and quicker. I was enjoying it because there was no one on the track at that time of the morning. Anyhow, in riding with Morris, I was ahead. Because I had an e-bike, he couldn't keep up. And Morris is a strong rider, but so we stopped, and I decided if he went first, I would keep at his speed, because I could do that quite easily. Well, Morris had just started off, and I hopped on the bike and thought, shit, you better go, he's gone. I clipped a branch or a tree or something like that, I don't remember exactly what, and I snapped part of the punga. So it must have been quite a heavy blow, and that was enough, but it sent me over the handlebars and face planted down on the ground.
What had happened is I worked out, he'd clipped that tree with his handlebar, tried to correct it, went straight down the left bank into the pungas, and he'd gone straight over the top, landed in the stream, and there was a punga tree hit right here, and he was lying up against it with his bike on top of him. So he said, help, get the bike off me. So I went down, got the bike away, a bit heavy being the electric bike, put it up there, and then went down and realised something was wrong his face was going in the water, and so I had to sort of protect him and just roll him slightly. And when he said, "Can I feel my legs? Are they uphill?" I realised there was something wrong. The morning of the accident, we think Darrell came round that corner there, had his handlebar on that tree, came into here, straightened his wheel up, hit his chin on here, and then went over and landed down here with his neck, and his bike was on top of him, and then that's where he ended up.
Cut your handlebars.
Over and done with. Bang. Gone. Very quick.
You're face down on the ground.
Face down, I remember laying there with something under my chest, which was uncomfortable to lay on, but it was okay. And Morris rocked my body, and he kept feeling around the body to see if I could feel stuff. And I said, yeah, I can feel this, I can feel that. I wasn't totally paralysed, but I don't know whether he did that. I think he must have done that after the paralysing effect started going through the body. Very hard to explain that. Starts at your feet and goes up your legs and through the body, and it just, don't know how you would explain it.
Like a numbness? Just
Yeah.
You're just going totally numb.
Yep.
You could feel that.
Couldn't move to get my cell phone out of my backpack or anything like that. If I'd been there myself, I'd have laid there until somebody found me.
He was down on the ground there, bike was off, put the bike here, went down, his face was near the water, so I had to just roll him slightly so he wouldn't suffocate. And then I had no cell phone reception, that was the other problem. So I said, stay calm, stay there, and then I had to walk up just around the corner 50 metres, and I got the 111 call out to the 111 and then asked for police, and then policeman phoned me back and he said hit this thing, and it was GPS location, but at that stage I said send a helicopter and an ambulance because I wasn't too sure. And then that's how it unfolded. Came back to here and just stayed with him, and it was 3 hours. No one came past us in 3 hours. No walkers, no bikers, no nothing.
I must have blacked out from there because I don't remember him going off, but I was still laying face down with a bit of water in the drain, or a small stream just running under my clothing or something. That's about as much as I remember until the helicopter came. Now how long that took, I have no idea because I was blanked out.
It was the 26th of January 2019. It was about 7:20 on a Saturday morning. And we must have been out at the hangar organising the helicopter and the equipment soon after that. And off we went, headed off to Turangi.
So it would have been just a standard dispatch from ambulance control for us to a mountain bike accident on Tongariro River Trails. We don't know really before you're dispatched what injuries etc. We knew because of its location needed some extra equipment like the long line, and Shep came with me to give me a hand. And the paramedic was Nigel Bryant that day. We flew to Turangi. You know, the time lapse would have been probably half an hour for the time we dispatched here to the time Nigel got to him. We just landed in the paddock, and I'm pretty certain Nigel ran in to the site.
We heard the helicopter, it circled round and round but couldn't see us, and then obviously landed on the farm, and then the rescue guys walked down through the bush onto the track.
So Nigel and I had walked into the bush from the helicopter and found Yose and Morris on the track. They were able to show us the way to Darrell.
When you found Darrell, what was his condition?
Well, he was lying there on the ground amongst the punga trees, and it was pretty obvious after chatting to him that he crashed his mountain bike. He was in a lot of pain. He was talking to us though. Nigel, the intensive care paramedic, struck up conversation with him. Nigel clearly wanted to know what had happened. Darrell indicated that there was pain. He was quite chatty, considering the circumstances, and then Nigel indicated to him what needed to be done. But that was Nigel's area of expertise. He looked after Darrell, he dealt with him, he did the care, and I was there as his support really, just talking to Pete on the radio back at the helicopter, telling him what gear we needed and what we needed to do.
Radioed back to us, this is what I need. We just got that gear together and slung it into Nigel, and then just landed back in the paddock. Pretty easy down there because the farm is very close to the track. You might feel like you're in the wilderness, but you're actually only about 100 metres from a farm in most places.
They radioed back to the helicopter pilot, and then they put it up and then lowered, it was Barry Shepherd down on the sled, right into this clearing right here. Okay, and then that's where we started the rescue.
You know, obviously as soon as Nigel got to the site, he would have realised you've got spinal injuries, so you just need to slow up so you don't cause more problems. It was a matter of then packing him up.
We organised ourselves, got Darrell packaged for the flight out, so to speak, and then Pete came back some little time later and picked up the three of us. We had Darrell on the stretcher, and then Nigel and I, one on each side of the stretcher, and he flew us out to the paddock in a straight line. It wasn't that far, of course.
Then you land in the paddock and put him on the.
Yeah, so then we landed in the paddock, packed up all our gear, and then loaded him into the helicopter.
But I heard this helicopter, then I heard voices around me. Again, I've no idea who it was or how long they were there. I don't recall being rolled or put into this, the sling, but I do remember looking up as the helicopter's winching me up, hovering above, and thinking, oh, this is bloody awesome, I've never done this before.
Flew back to Topol for fuel, and by then Nigel had made his clinical decision to take him to Middlemore Hospital, and that was entirely based on the injuries that were presenting.
I was landed in a paddock out of the trees while they decided what to do and where to take me. So I heard voices talking, and there was a bit of a discussion, and somebody said, I have to go to Auckland. And again I blacked out and I don't remember anything apart from waking up in the helicopter somewhere on my way up to Auckland and seeing the outline of the rotors and the flickering of the rotor blades in the sun. Don't remember landing or anything. The next thing I woke up, I was in I guess a surgery, and a whole lot of doctors and medical people around me asking me all sorts of questions that I don't know how I answered, but I must have done it. And then I blacked out. The ACC physio once said, John, that I'd never walk. It's our goal to sort of prove her wrong, whether it ever happens or not, but it would be nice to be able to say we'll see. Can at least stand up and walk or shuffle. Sometimes I have to ask John if there's any movement. I've just got no way of feeling for it.
Nothing.
Everything's paralysed, but there is some minor.
10 more. Come on. 1. Up. 2.
Darrell,
3.
when did
4.
you start having physio?
Probably 3 weeks after the accident, because the first 2 weeks were an intensive care unit, and then it was recovery for another 3 months in a different unit. And there they had a program or a roster each day of what you were to do, and in the morning 2 nurses, I would say, would come in and do my hands and my arms. but then during the day there would be a set routine for the rest of the body.
And did you feel you were making some progress?
Not really.
Not really.
No. It was too infrequent, and I couldn't balance properly. I couldn't sit up. I certainly couldn't stand. They had me on some machine to try and stand me up, and it was just too painful in my spine. So, yeah, it wasn't until I got home, and even when I got home, I didn't have physio for probably a year.
Now, how did you get involved for you, who is doing your physio now?
Oh, a bit of bad luck. Yeah, that's the way it goes.
Explain a little bit more.
I get this guy that's got nothing better to do and wants to fill his day, and he said to me something like, you know, would you like to do some exercising? And I guess I said yes. Big mistake, but still, it started off with a relationship of business, but soon got that I could give him shit and fill his day. But yeah, he started off with a smaller program to see where I was at, and then built up something from there, and it's changed over the time, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's got different.
And you're feeling comfortable and you're feeling some positive gains from your workouts?
Definitely positive gains, yeah, and what the body can do now compared to what it could do. Without the input from Rahul, I think it would have been quite, what's the word? Yeah, very uncomfortable for me. I couldn't have done a lot of things. I couldn't move a lot. Couldn't touch my head or anything like that. So yes, it's definitely been a benefit.
Now pull. So now he's doing 2, 3,
Now, I've watched
4,
your workout with Rahul.
5,
I mean, you must
6.
come out of those workouts a little bit
7.
fatigued.
Yep, I do. I feel tired at the end of it, around midday. And all I want to do sometimes is just go down and have a sleep. It's a combination that's about as much as I can handle, 2 hours of getting up and doing exercises, and then getting off my bum because my bottom's sore sitting on the chair. And about the same time I'm fast asleep. And that was the same this morning. I'd done some exercising and I just wanted, during the course of the exercising, wanted to keep going to sleep. And it was hard for him to keep me awake. But when he weighs money in front of you, that helps a lot. If I tried doing this exercise 6 months ago, I'd have fallen over backwards or sideways and been really in a lot of pain. I just couldn't afford to be unsupported, but now I can at least sit unsupported with Rahul being ready to grab me if anything happens.
Rahul, you began working for Darrell initially as a caregiver?
Yeah, actually I'm working with Darrell as a caregiver, and like I met him 2 years ago.
So you just saw a need for physio with Darrell, and he agreed to...
Yeah, and whenever I ask anything about the physio program, like a new exercise to stretch his arms, he said yes, yeah, he can do it.
And how many days a week do you do this program?
2 days a week. Yeah.
You think he can handle a third day, or is there sort of a limit? Do you think he can?
No, like he can like do exercise for 3 to 4 days a week, but like it's not a torture. I'm become a torturer from him.
Yeah, I give him a hard time when I torture him.
Now, do you push the pain barrier a little bit?
Yeah. Like when stretching his arms, he can like tell me like go on. If he had a pain, then also he can tell me like go on, just he can do it. So he never say no.
So if he starts to, if he says it hurts,
Yeah.
you can give him that little bit more.
And he knows like no pain, no gain. Yeah.
It's like hell, and he keeps pushing the boundaries. But all in all, I guess it's for the benefit.
Now, what equipment have you added to the program? You got some weights or things like that?
Yeah, we have like different weights like 3 kg, 5 kg. Probably we start with, and the first time we start at 1 kg of weight, and now he's able to do 7 kg on his arm.
So we're now 7.5 kg of weights. Again, Too right. Now with this hand I can't hold the same way as I did with the other hand.
Yeah.
So I'm holding it lengthways, whereas on the other side I was holding it sideways.
Sideways. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And where are you getting the most gains? Where are you finding the most movement improvement?
In his arms.
His arms.
Yeah. Now he can pull me back towards him.
Good enough. So you can actually,
Yeah, pretty much strength.
you can have a little bit of wrestling match on.
Yeah. I have to become a little bit scared from him. He can hit me.
Down, give pressure 1.
And what about the legs? Much gain in the legs?
It's better than when we start. And now he can also like stand with the support of mine. And we can trust each other, so he can trust on me. So I will help him to stand.
That stretch right to the mattress is just on the borderline of being hurt, painful. But I can manage it at the moment.
Do you think someday he'll be able to stand without support?
I will hope about that one, but it's not a particular like he can stand with his walker. But we can hope.
They go up to 13, and 20's the highest on it. The flexing of each finger individually, just stretching them out, a position they're not used to being in now. But again, these are exercises I couldn't do myself without help.
5, 6.
So having Sudan's top man here, I get the best
7.
torture there is in the world.
6,
So they're getting a lot stronger.
7, 8, 6, 7, 9.
Darrell, when did ACC come into the picture?
From day one, from the time a helicopter was called to the accident site, the cost of that would be on ACC because it's an accident. So right from the very beginning.
So basically all the hospital care, you were in hospital approximately 3 months, were you not?
Yeah.
And that was all on ACC?
Yep.
That was
Yep.
nuts.
It's an accident. In New Zealand, ACC pay for everything. So
Yes.
2 weeks in intensive care where I had a nurse with me every 2 hours. Then they'd rotate through the day and through the night. And then I was taken from intensive care unit into a rehabilitation centre for the next 2.5 months.
What was the biggest challenge that you feel when you moved back home? Was there, some of the adaptations you had to go through?
Well, first off was the amount of people that came in to assess, from physiotherapists to nurses to whoever. It was just almost a daily occurrence for people to come in and spend an hour or two here and then go out again. It was just a whirlwind of people, not having the house to ourselves. They originally appointed a case manager, or that's what the terminology was when we first started. Now they've got a flash title of accident recovery manager or something else.
So the case managers, you've had a pretty good relationship?
Very good relationship with ACC and the case managers. They've been only too happy to help, and even the current manager, who I've never met, but I often talk to on the phone, will listen to what I've got to say and then say, righto, we can do this and that.
And what about the wheelchair you're riding in right now?
Wheelchairs, I've had several now. One I came out of hospital with, then another one was provided, which wasn't suitable. It got me around the property if the grass was dry, but in the winter months if the grass was damp it would skid, even trying to get up the ramp here. and I wanted something that I could go down the river with, along the river tracks. And said, well, these are things I used to do. You know, I need something that'll get me there. So they provided this wheelchair for $48,000.
Now, you're just about ready to shift to a new house in Taupo.
Yep.
Now, what advantages do you see by shifting to Taupo, leaving this property here in Turangi?
Well, the advantages up there would be proximity to amenities like a gymnasium or a swimming pool, the proximity to Taupo Hospital or Rotorua for more major things, and the less work for Yosei to try and maintain this size property herself, because without two of you doing it, it's pretty hard to do. She's pretty tired at night. So yeah, there is definite advantages. And it was something we were planning to do anyhow, maybe not so quickly, but she was talking about wanting to shift years ago, and we should be planning to do it.
Being polished.
Yeah, oh, well, I have polished. like Venus.
The day I heard about it, yeah, it's a real shake-up. My daughter was up for the weekend and we went for a bike ride and we met Graham at the end of the Red Hut Bridge, and he told us about it and explained where it was. There's total disbelief. Even my daughter, who never met Darrell, was shocked that that sort of accident could happen to somebody lying in bed and not being able to move your legs. And I'm a bit of a restless sleeper, and I just couldn't imagine that sort of a life. And then go and visit Darrell and see how he's coping and doing, and totally impresses me with his courage and how he's coping with it.
It was certainly a big shock when I heard about it, and not only just through the bike club, because had been working with Darrell off and on for the last year or so in building and learning a lot from him. So it was a real major shock, and all that sort of stopped. But no, keep visiting him, and you can see the improvement. And he certainly got a bit more cheekier as he's gone along, and that's what I think we miss in the club, is that, isn't it, guys, that wit that was always there, is always having people on. It was really great.
One else I was quite taken back when I heard, made me realise that you can't be complacent biking on a track that you've done thousands of times. You know, a tree could shift in the wind or something, so you've just got to be aware of biking. For Darrell, who has such a big personality, to be the way that he is now, just wish him all the best for whatever lays ahead of him. Yeah, that's all.
I was introduced to Darrell through Morris. Morris came to me and said, you know, I think we've got a new member for the cycling club, and he wants to join. He became a bit more involved with the club. He's been president from then on. He got keen and organised a few out-of-town rides, and it was really good. Darrell, we miss you, man, and those rides that we've had away, we'll treasure those memories, and just wish you well, and carry on carrying on.
So 216k or something it was. And none of us had been down before, and we didn't want to pay a rafting company to take us because we were all paddlers. So we just bought bloody rafts ourselves and said, righto, let's go. But we started in a snowstorm which lasted a couple of days, and we'd find a shearer's hut at night on the bank somewhere and cram into that. And then other times we'd just tent wherever we were. One of my mates stepped backwards and stepped into the icy water as he was packing his boat, and we all got wiped out each day. So, and this we climbed up really high. It took us, I think we did 10 hours of climbing, and this was at the top when we climbed over into a big valley, and up and then down the other side. Took us 5 hours to get down the valley. So it was a long day. It was about a 15-hour day. It's going down the glacier. I think we were heading down to the hut at Takino, going down that side from the top. It was on the top of the Kaimana. I was looking back to Narahoi Ruapehu. Most weekends we'd go out and do some outdoor activity, whether it be kayak on the river. The river involved a wee bit more time because of the distances you're carrying, and or go tramping. Or go up to Whakapapa, do a bit of climbing and stuff like that. And most of the time we were instructing on snowcraft skills, avalanche awareness, ice axe use, crampons.
Well, you were a very active person for the majority of your life, so we know, life in a wheelchair, how have you accepted that? How have you changed in the 2.5 years you've been in the chair?
You have to accept an accident unless you die. And there's days I think if I'd crashed and died it would have been better. Better for Yose for facing up to what she's had to face up. It's nearly 3 years now. So, and there's a lot happened, a lot behind the scenes of physiotherapists and bloody occupational therapists and psychologists, and every person wants to make a cut out of it and bleed ACC.
Is it gratefulness from your side? I mean, to have that support from government sponsored.
Yeah, grateful to be able to have ACC, and their support's been amazing. There's never been anything really that they've said no to. It's taken time. Some stuff like this chair would have taken 6 to 9 months to get hold of. When you first moat the idea, then they've got to find out where it is, they've got to get prices for it and submit those to ACC, who've got to then approve it. All that takes time. So accepting your stuff, you've just got to accept it because you've got no other life. That's it. Everything stops. Everything you knew before, writing with a pen, scratching your ass, everything stops. You just can't do it. You're reliant on somebody else now. So sometimes I come out here and just sit in the shade when it's a stinking hot day.
And in that process is a change of thinking and a change of outlook what you can achieve for yourself in life?
Well, certainly a change of outlook. But there's things that I'd like to do that I still can't do. Can't get up and walk or anything, or can't move my legs. I'd like to kick somebody's ass sometime, but I can't even do that. Think about it often enough. So, yeah, there's this, even going down the shed and picking up a power tool, I can't do that. Too heavy, or too awkward for my hand with my fingers,
And in my almost 3 years since the accident, singing, I see you have more mobility in the hands and arms.
Oh,
yeah, improved?
Yeah, it has improved. Initially I couldn't move my feet. I remember moving my big toe in the hospital bed. It was a major bonus. Don't know why, it just felt great. And then things, they say the first 18 months is where the majority of progress is made to recover. And after that it tapers off and takes a lot more to do. But having Rahul here and paying his high fees, it's spent many millions of dollars looking after his needs. It's worked well.
More, 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 more. Don't hold your breath.
I have had pain in my
breathing.
side and down by my hip. I had 2 cortisone injections for that yesterday, because even rolling over in bed, which I do 5 or 6 times a day, causes pain to shoot through my body and causes it to lock up, and it's quite severe. It's how would you describe it?
Okay.
Yeah,
Spasm maybe?
yeah,
Spasm,
a spasm that locks up, and the body needs to change. It needs to be a bit more movement. So whatever I'm doing with the bed and sitting up or laying down, I have to alter, and while that's happening, I'm still in pain.
How many hours can you sit in a wheelchair in comfort?
If I had to, maximum 4. But I don't like spending any more than 2. But in the afternoon like this, it's usually from 2 to 4, you know.
And then you go lie down.
And then I go lie down from 4 to 4:30 or 4:45 or something like that.
Can you swing yourself from side to side in bed
No,
at all?
I can't.
You can't roll and
No.
change your position.
No.
I know, like that's.
And at night time, when I'm put down at 9:30 at night, whatever position I land in is the position I'm in for probably 10 hours.
Unless someone comes in that changes you, rolls
Well,
you. Or,
what happens is I've got a buzzer system that I call the caregiver, who has to come in, and they have to pick up my legs and just do passive exercise with them to move them, because sometimes they go numb and I just can't stay like that, or my leg will flop over for some reason. It's spasmed and it's jumped away. So at night my legs are taped or strapped together to stop the one leg taking away from the other one.
now I've seen, I think, a change in you in the last 2.5, 3 years, being much more positive about the situation you're in now in a certain way. That's the best way to explain it. Because you're a bit more upbeat now. I would go home the last 6 months and tell Ali, boy, he's really upbeat today.
Yeah. Depends on how I'm feeling, if I had a good night's sleep. But if I've been up 7 or 8 times a night and those spasms have been going all night, no sleep, all I want to do is go to sleep during the day. And some of the medication that kills the pain makes me drowsy. So I can't even do any exercise. I fall asleep while Rahul's trying to encourage me to do something, and he keeps saying, wake up, Darrell, wake up. And I'm just laying there like a big blob. So we came out here, had a look at the property, 2 acres. It was a rural property with farm fencing around it. What I find the most difficult is people in town that I knew and I'd see on a regular basis. There's no contact, not even a phone call or a visit, you know. Just you're completely cut off. Not easy life, that's for sure. Not an easy way to be. But I wouldn't want to be in a rest home either.
There was no one else walking along the track or running or even any other bikers that day. It was just one of those days. And so it just goes to show that the meek little river track, the Tongariro River Trail, can claim you, but you've got to be prepared with it. Cell phone was the saviour that day, and thankfully Darrell got to survive and got to get back home again.
Seemingly safe recreation, like biking on the Tongariro River track, can go horribly wrong. On that January day 3 years ago, Darrell clipped a tree branch with his handlebars. His fate would have it, he hit a tree trunk with the back of his neck after flying over the handlebars. Now, the man in the wheelchair is adapting to a new way of life. Nothing is easy for him, but his laughs and his smiles are testaments of his character.